Hello everyone, great to have you here for this edition of Media Marks Weather. Welcome to the channel. We're going to be watching a few areas come the middle to later part of the month. The Eastern Gulf, Southeast Coast, that is going to be fair game for another potential tropical storm spin up as we get some sort of tropical action along the stalled out frontal boundary, plenty of deep tropical moisture to work with. We're also going to be watching the intertropical convergence zone introduce a lot of chances of some big tropical waves coming off the Cape Verde Island region here. Also be watching Tropical Depression Chantal spread its way northeastward along the east coast over the next couple days, spreading rain, wind, and wave action. We're also watching Typhoon Danas here take aim on Taiwan, and a renewed threat here maybe potentially on Japan. We'll take a look at all your typhoon outlook here into the Western Pacific. We'll also be looking at a new stormy pattern come mid to late part of July across much of the southeastern part of North America, as we see a lot of chances of deep tropical moisture meeting up with stalled frontal boundaries. Let's get into it. And our latest infrared satellite of Tropical Depression Chantal, look at the heavy, deep tropical moisture coming up on the east side, even some lightning here off the coast of North Carolina. Big ball of moisture moving on the northwest side of the system into Greensboro, Charlotte areas, Dansville. These areas are going to be moving further north as this system moves slowly north and then eventually northeast towards Richmond during the day on Monday. So watch out. Lots of deep tropical moisture. Quickly watching what's left of Chantal here on our HWRF model. Tropical Depression Chantal moving throughout parts of South Central Virginia here through Richmond as we head during the early morning hours into the late morning of July 7th, Monday. So this taking a lot of moisture up with it across the Chesapeake Bay, off of New Jersey here. There's the core of it, heading right out east of Atlantic City, New York City, and the eastern tip of Long Island. Here it is, 11 a.m. on Tuesday, so we're still talking about what's left of Chantal here, meeting up with a frontal boundary to the northwest here. That's going to be heading towards the Gulf of Maine and eventually spreading heavy rain throughout Nova Scotia here. Gusty winds may be parts of southeastern Massachusetts here through Cape Cod. And we're just following that throughout Nova Scotia, gusty winds and heavy rain. So the rest of the tropics here, we are looking quiet to start out, with the exception, I want to show you right out here, the Cape Verde Islands and Africa. Look at these areas of storminess, tropical wave action just lining up here across Central Africa. This is what's going to really get us cranking throughout July here. As we go through time, look at this. Spin-ups are trying to make their way southeast of the Cape Verde Islands here. Also throughout the Caribbean, we're watching a few areas of gusty showers here, especially the southern Caribbean heading towards Nicaragua, Costa Rica. But look at the action getting cranking out here by the Cape Verde Islands. That is where you're going to start to see some potential development later in the month. Look at the dust here to the north, though. It is thinning out in time, but it's still there. It's spreading across the northeast, Lesser Antilles here. So intertropical convergence zone, yeah, that's going to be a thing that's going to be creeping up on us pretty quickly here. You see this double barrel area of subtropical high. That's going to keep all of these low pressures, all of these tropical waves heading due west across much of the Atlantic here. Now, you start to see Trinidad, Tobago get into some heavy rains, gusty winds. Also Nicaragua with a strong tropical wave here. One thing to note, initially, at least during the next 7 to 10 days, not much rain here, at least on our GFS model across parts of the North Central Caribbean islands. But watch out. This is the area, the Eastern and Central Gulf, all the way up the Southeast coast. This is where things are going to start to come together come the middle of the month. Look at this. You start to see evidence of a stalled frontal boundary. This is the thing that spun up Chantal, a stalled out frontal boundary that happens a lot of times this time of year. And you get those showers and thunderstorms focusing over the Eastern Gulf and Southeast coast here through the 16th. You see a lot of areas of storminess throughout parts of the interior Gulf Coast areas. And then you really start to see this tropical moisture focus along this stalled boundary, this frontal boundary across the northeastern Gulf and off the southeast coast. As that's happening, we do start to see increased shower, thunderstorm activity, Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. Look at the intertropical convergence zone. Strong tropical wave moving off the Cape Verde areas. And if we go through Africa here, look at them just lining up here throughout the central part of the continent. So we got a lot of moisture just ready to move off the coastline here. And then look at this. This is by the 19th, and I'm going to show you this on the European model momentarily. We get a couple areas. Eastern Gulf, southeast coastline here. We could be spinning up some sort of tropical low here through central parts of the Gulf and off the southeast coastline here. And this is the last frame. This run of the GFS shows this going inland here. So we'll have to watch it here because there are some flip-flopping back and forth, but I would be watching these areas very closely as we head towards the third week of July. Throughout the rest of the Atlantic here, you can see some Saharan dust hanging out here, intertropical convergence zone. And here's the Caribbean, kind of clear as a bell, so to speak here. But we do have some showers moving through the Lesser Antilles and Nicaragua. So there you have it. Gulf looks pretty quiet here on this last frame, but I do caution you because this stalled frontal boundary, I think, is going to spin up something towards the mid to later part of July. Let's take a look at the Euro. Thanks to Tropical Tidbits here for our European model analysis here. Look at this as we go in time. There's what's left of Chantal, moving inland as a tropical depression throughout early Monday as well. The rest of the tropics looking very interesting. We have a big tropical wave southeast of Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada here. We're going to watch that move through with some gusty showers. Also the Yucatan. We have a little bit of a tropical wave here around Belize. That's going to continue to spread shower and thunderstorm action. We also have a little area approaching the Bahamas here as we head later on Monday. So watch out. Yeah, this is going to get very active through here. Look at this. This wave and this wave in particular. Our Central American wave moves towards the Bay of Campeche as we head early on into the day on Tuesday. Here is that Bermuda high just camped out here. Those areas of low pressure are going to continue to pinwheel around it. There's our big gusty low pressure moving towards the southern Lesser Antilles, and there is our big tropical wave into the southwestern Gulf here. So we're going to continue to watch this as we go through time. That's going to move northward, maybe affecting parts of coastal Texas as well with some tropical rains. Also, as we get towards midweek here, we could be looking at some gusty shower and thunderstorm action throughout the north central Caribbean, Jamaica, Dominican Republic here. Look at this, continued the Yucatan, very stormy as we continue through July 10th and July 11th. Ultimately, what's going to be happening is this intertropical convergence zone is going to continue to spit out these big, strong tropical waves moving towards the southern Lesser Antilles. And we're going to continue to watch it here. We could have a big area of disturbed weather, long drawn-out area of low pressure heading across parts of the southern Lesser Antilles. And continuing here with our model, you can see as we go through the 13th into the 14th, those showers and thunderstorms continue. The Northeast Caribbean islands down through the Lesser Antilles, this is going to be the trouble spot. Look at the Eastern Gulf as well. Still picking up on that positive area. Watch out the Southeast coast as well, this tail end of this front. Looks like the Euro is still trying to spin up that area of low pressure across the North Central Gulf. Also disturbed area off the Southeast coast and the Lesser Antilles. We have to watch these areas very closely. Look at this. Europeans still going crazy with this potential storm middle part of the month. So we could be looking out a very long, drawn-out period of very heavy rain across the Southeast, Eastern Gulf, Southeast coast. And look at this intertropical convergence zone. Trinidad, Tobago up to Grenada. You're in for some stormy times. But look at this by Saturday, July 19th. Look at this big area. You know, at this point, it's kind of pointing towards a positive signal that something is going to try to develop either that middle to later part of July, and big tropical moisture all the way through the 21st now, from Virginia all the way down to the Gulf Coast. And for the rest of the tropics, I wanted to show you all the way out by the Cape Verde Islands. Look at these big waves coming off the coast of Africa. As we just continue through time, you see the low pressures trying to initialize here. These are some very strong waves for this time of year. So you know when this gets cranking in August, you know we're going to be seeing some big storms develop out here pretty easily. But look at this. Yeah, we're just continuing to watch these strong tropical waves off the coast of Africa. This is July 15th, the midpoint of the month. You can see, look at the moisture out here. Euro's kind of signifying that we may have some potential development here with some areas of low pressure. So watching very closely as we head later, middle to later part of July here. And look at those sea surface temperature anomalies. We are on fire off the U.S. East Coast. That's why we had Chantal spin up here. Look at the Gulf as well. Looking very toasty, but look at the Caribbean out through the Cape Verde Islands. Still running below average due to that Saharan dust and that upwelling. But look at that. You do see some spots starting to show up above average. So we're going to watch for that as the dust continues to slowly thin over the next couple weeks. And here we are for the Western Caribbean, Central America, Western Caribbean islands. This week looks like another dry one. Unfortunately, Jamaica, you're only eking out a maximum of 20 millimeters here. Cayman Islands, maybe towards 25. Dominican Republic, look at that, 8 or 9, all the way through next weekend here. Central America looks a little drier. Until next weekend, we start to see this thing moisten up, especially around Belize, Nicaragua, parts of Honduras as well. But yeah, all in all, it looks like at least here on the Euro model, we start to get a little bit of heavier downpours through here. Some areas approaching 50 to 60 millimeters. Eastern tip of Jamaica, upwards of 80, close to 100. Dominican Republic here. Here it is. We're getting around 40, 50 millimeters on average. So Belize is the big winner here for rainfall. Look at that, 150 millimeters. Nicaragua approaching 200. Honduras, you're right around 60 to 90. So much of the tropical moisture is bottled up here over the Eastern Gulf. Here's the Western Caribbean on our GFS, very similar to the Euro this week. Unfortunately, Jamaica, some areas only eking out 20, 30 millimeters, maybe locally higher to 40 millimeters here on the GFS western part. Cayman Islands, even less here. Dominican Republic, yeah, some areas maybe up to 20 millimeters, but there are some dry areas too. Nicaragua, all the way up here to parts of Belize. Yeah, it's wetter times are ahead here. Look at this, Nicaragua upwards of 500 millimeters along the East Coast. Jamaica, we're hard-pressed to get many areas to 20 or 30 millimeters, but I think things will start to moisten up come the middle of the month. Look at Dominican Republic. Yeah, this is 60 to as much as 100 millimeters in some of these areas. The northwest area of Jamaica, though, not as much, towards 20 millimeters. Eastern part of Puerto Rico, you could see up to 3 to 4 inches, at least on our GFS model here. All right, looking throughout the Eastern Caribbean here on our European run. Yeah, it's Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada areas. That's where things are going to moisten up over the next couple weeks. Even Puerto Rico, a quarter to half an inch on average. The Virgin Islands here, about 20 to 30 millimeters. But you go down the Lesser Antilles chain here. Here's the Southern Lesser Antilles. You're going to get several tropical waves here. Upwards of 100, maybe 125 millimeters, not out of the question down here. So watch out. Southeastern Bahamas not looking like much, 13 to 26 millimeters. Here is Dominican Republic and Jamaica. Maybe a little bit of shower action, thunder shower action as we head through the middle of the month. And heading on into the Eastern Caribbean here on our GFS model, you can see, yeah, there's the moisture surge across Trinidad, Tobago up to Grenada, all the way up the Lesser Antilles here. Some of these areas could be seeing 60 to 120 millimeters of rainfall. Watch out because we do start to moisten up here through parts of the Caribbean islands, north central Caribbean islands, towards the mid to late part of July as we get more tropical wave action. All right, so looking at that deep tropical moisture, later on, middle part of the month, Gulf Coast through the southeast coast, we're going to add on to totals here. Look at this. Averaging 5 to 8 inches here. Southeast Louisiana, you're right around 3 to 5. Keep in mind, this is going to be a big area of low pressure that just stalls along the southern end of a front through July 21st here. So these are going to be some hefty rainfall totals. And here we go, the Mid-Atlantic. What's left of Chantal here? Yeah, this is going to be inland. Look at that, 5 to 8 inches. Little bit lesser amounts here on the eastern part through early to midweek here. And then look at this. As we head through that third week of July, tropical moisture, potential for more tropical storms. We're going to surge this moisture all the way up into southeast Pennsylvania, 3 to 4 inches, Delmarva, 6 to 8 inches, down through the Carolinas here, widespread 6 to 8 inches. Even up here into parts of the Mid-Atlantic and New England, some areas could approach 3 inches. All right, so for our GFS model here into the Mid-Atlantic, off the southeast coast. Yeah, this week, heavy rain inland here, some parts of North Carolina, South Carolina, up to 5 to 8 inches. Delmarva area, 3 to 5 inches with what's left of Chantal by this point. Look at this as we stretch through the middle part of the month, all the way through the 19th. just like the European model, deep tropical moisture throughout the southeast and mid-Atlantic here. Look at this, showing even the Poconos, Catskills, Hudson Valley, parts of central New England getting upwards of 4 to 6 inches over the next 2 weeks. And here we are looking at the southeast for deep tropical moisture. Look at this. So we head through time here this week. Some areas upwards of 2 to 4 inches, but look at towards the central part of the month, mid to late, going into the third week of July, all the way through South Florida and the Southeast. We're looking at some areas approaching 4 to 6 inches plus. And here we are for the Eastern Pacific. It's just going to continue to remain active here. The good news, these storms that are going to be developing are further west of the Mexican coast. As we head over the next several days, you can see we get one cranking, maybe two cranking way out here. These are going to be fish storms, thankfully, maybe bringing up some gusty wave action along the Mexican coastline. This one does get cranking a little bit closer to the Mexican coastline around the 13th and 14th. Gets strengthening, but heading out over cooler water. So that is some great news here for the Eastern Pacific. And here we are with Typhoon Danas here approaching Taiwan. 105 mile per hour sustained wind, 125 mile per hour gusts. That's going to continue to head towards Taiwan over the next 24 to 48 hours. It does encounter the mountainous terrain. It will weaken over time here as we get to tropical storm status by about the time of Monday night into Tuesday. You can see it on the model bending back towards the west as high pressure over the Yellow Sea up here starts to block it and send it back towards the Chinese coastline here. So that's going to head inland, as you can see. And then we get another storm system trying to develop behind it. You can see the Philippines down through here, a little bit drier through the central Philippines. But we could be looking at another storm trying to form behind this main Typhoon Danas here. And you can see it just hanging out, potentially two areas of low pressure combining into one across the southern Japanese islands. So we're going to be watching out for that. And then as we head through time, that heads out into just east and parts of Japan. So we're looking at stormy times here, maybe something subtropical or synoptic getting cranking. So let's just back it up here. Initially, Japan, you get that rainy season. Seoul, South Korea here, looking pretty clear for the most part over the next several days. Beautiful weather breaking out throughout the Korean peninsula. Shanghai, rainy times are ahead. Tokyo, Japan, it does get dry towards the central part of the month here. But look at this. We're going to be watching what's a tropical storm Moon here. This system is going to be heading out over the North Pacific here. And of course, that's going to be spreading tropical moisture well towards the west coast of Canada and the United States. So that's going to be a thing of the past. As we go through time, you can see another typhoon does get cranking east of Japan on the 13th, and that's going to head out into the northern Pacific as well, changing our weather throughout North America. So all in all, very, very active across the western Pacific. And here we are. We're going to watch what's left of, it's going to be Tropical Depression Chantal, well, inland here over the next couple of days. So as we head on into the rest of your evening, Sunday evening, this is going to be moving much of the moisture inland. So yeah, there's going to be some moisture throughout the Outer Banks as well. Watch out for that. But the big story, this circulation moves inland here. 4 a.m. on Monday morning, approaching Richmond, Virginia here. And that circulation heads up towards the Chesapeake towards 1 p.m. So at least this thing will be moving. It won't be completely stalled out. But you see later in the day, we do start to get some shower and thunderstorm action as the center approaches the Delmarva Peninsula here and flares up those areas of shower and thunderstorm. Now look at throughout much of the southeast, you're going to be flaring up scattered showers and thunderstorms. They're going to be slow moving. So unfortunately, you know, the flash flood threat running high down and through here, even this central Florida area as well. But look it up here in the Northeast by 8 p.m. on Monday evening, the 7th, we could be looking at some of the strong thunderstorms. So not widespread strong, but some of these could contain damaging wind and large hail. Look at what's left of Chantal moving right out off the coast of New Jersey and New York City, Long Island here through midnight on Monday night, and that moves out towards Cape Cod. So you might get some gusty winds and heavy rain with what's left of Chantal here. That's going to be moving towards the Gulf of Maine and eventually Nova Scotia as we head towards Wednesday here. But here it is. Yeah, we're going to be clearing out a little bit here. We got some showers and thunderstorm action approaching for your Tuesday. So there you have it. Lots of shower and thunderstorm activity off the coast of the Bahamas here and the Western Gulf. And I wanted to show you as we head through 4 p.m. on Monday, just heading back further inland, lots of showers and thunderstorms across Texas. Wanted to show the Ohio Valley here, west of Detroit, down through Indianapolis here later in the evening on Monday. These don't seem to get much of their way into northern and central Ohio, as, you know, there's going to be a cap in the upper level of the atmosphere that keeps it pretty quiet. Maybe a few showers on Tuesday, spreading eastward to Erie, Buffalo area. You see those get cranking across upstate New York and Pennsylvania. And Joe Drayhouse looking at the Statue of Liberty on Friday evening, looking like another nice day. Look at that beautiful sunshine. You see a little bit of haziness there in the background, but nice capture. And July 3rd, those thunderstorms went right around New York City. You got a nice capture of the New York City here. Look at this close up of some building action, and look at way off in the background. You can see the bridges all the way back miles. It was just a beautiful evening while those storms pretty much slipped to the south and to the northeast of New York City. And taking a nice boat ride here in New York Harbor. Look at that, just looking beautiful here as stretching across the area. Just a nice capture on a beautiful Friday evening in New York City. Nice captures there, Joe Drayhouse. And it wouldn't be the 4th of July without some beautiful New York City fireworks. So look at this, Joe Drayhouse capturing this beautiful display of nice right out on a boat. That's the best way to do it. That's the best vantage point. Look at that. That looks just stunning across the area. Nice captures there, Joe. Looking like a really good time in New York City for your 4th of July holiday. Nice captures. There's some nice snapshots of the fireworks going off on the 4th of July as well. And look at that, topping it off there. You can't get much better than this. Nice captures there, Joe. Beautiful, nice times in New York City. I hope you had a good time. It looks like it was some beautiful weather as well. So for your Sunday evening, the heaviest severe weather is going to be out through eastern Colorado, western Nebraska, and Kansas here. Also an area across eastern North Carolina, watch out, and through parts of Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, and southern Missouri here, watch out. Maybe some late day shower and severe thunderstorm action. Watching for the rare enhanced risk across the central parts of Nebraska, western Nebraska, northeastern Colorado here. Also watch out western New York, northeastern Ohio, northwest Pennsylvania. There is a marginal risk of severe thunderstorms on your Monday. And here we go for your Tuesday. Marginal risk throughout the parts of the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast corridor here, the big cities of the Northeast, I-95 corridor. Watch out, this may be upgraded to slight risk. Also in the Central Plains here as well, marginal risk. GFS here, picking up where our future radar left off. As you can see, as we go through time here, throughout the rest of the week, ultimately, we're going to be watching what's left of Chantal, heading off the coastline here, and then spreading out into parts of the northern Atlantic here. So there it is. The 8th, we get showers and thunderstorm action. Now look at the Ohio Valley by the 9th here. So we're heading to the midpoint of the week. We get this frontal boundary. It's a weak front moving through, but it could spark off some shower and thunderstorm action here. The Ohio Valley, lower lakes, the northeast here. Mid-Atlantic, we do get a surge of moisture as this around this subtropical high surges moisture, tropical moisture all the way up the east coast into eastern New England here. That moves off the coastline for the 10th into the 11th. Look at this, though. You start to see the evidence of some severe weather across the northern plains. This is going to be having to watch over the next couple weeks. You can start to see this tropical moisture just plume together here with these old frontal boundaries that don't go anywhere. They're not weakening, they're not strengthening, but they're focusing lots of deep tropical moisture. By the 13th, unfortunately, we get into likely more next weekend into the following week. Deep tropical moisture heading up the Appalachians here. That is going to be heading up some heavy rain all the way from Florida into the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic region over the next several days. Into the 14th, into the 15th, you can start to see the evidence of another frontal boundary here with tropical moisture surging north here across the interior parts of the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic. And then as we head through the 16th into the 17th, let's see what our GFS shows here. It's showing some deep tropical moisture hanging out along the west periphery of this subtropical Bermuda high. Frontal boundary stalling again. Lots of blocking going on by this point. I want to make note of something here in the Northeast, the 17th into the 18th. We could have a severe weather outbreak moving through with this sharp frontal boundary. That's going to be meeting up with some deep tropical moisture here off the southeast coast and the eastern Gulf. And look at this. Our last frame is very similar to the European model in this time frame. Eastern Gulf, Southeast Coast, this is where the trouble spot's going to be. Potential for tropical storm spin-ups here. And looking at our precipitation amounts here, it is going to be across the Mid-Atlantic, Southeast areas, at least through this week. Look at these heavy rains, especially interior parts of North Carolina, Virginia. You could be seeing upwards, some areas close to 8 to 10 inches here. And through the Outer Banks, probably at least 2-3 inches. Delmarva area, yeah, you're looking at 3, maybe 4 inches. So lots of deep tropical moisture. Later on in the week, we get lots of moisture throughout the interior parts of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic here, Midwest as well. You can see this building up with strong tropical signals by through the end of the second, beginning of third week here. Look at this. This is a big surge of tropical moisture across the Southeast. Look at this. European from the Panhandle of Florida, Tampa. These areas could be looking at 2-week totals 6 to 10 inches. Look at this. All the way up the coast, southern New Jersey, 5 inches. Lots of heavy rain to be had, and 2 to 3 inches back in the interior sections here. And here it is on the GFS nationally. Look at this through this week. Very similar to the Euro. Mid-Atlantic, what's left of Chantal, Tropical Depression Chantal, really eking out some big rainfall totals here. Widespread 1 to 3 inches with 5 to 8 inch potential as well, where the heaviest moisture focuses. Now watch as we head through that third week of July. This is very concerning. Extreme tropical moisture from the Eastern Gulf all the way up into the Mid-Atlantic and New England here. Some areas approaching 4 to as much as 8 inches over the next 2 weeks. And don't forget, we have more weather coverage in just a moment, but if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone, please. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I'd love to read your questions or comments and respond to them. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe bell notification button, especially ahead of this busy hurricane season. And speaking of hurricane season, if you haven't caught my 2025 Outlook prediction for this hurricane season, link in the description down below and at the end of this video. Let's continue with more weather coverage. And our upper air weather pattern here, look at this. So as we head throughout the rest of the second into the third week of July, you can see there's a lot of storminess across the northern plains here, severe weather outbreaks. But look at the East Coast, mostly in a slate ridge here on average. Now, look at this. Through the 16th, this is where we get that trough moving across eastern Canada. Little bit of ridging through the lakes in the northeast here. But look at the Eastern Gulf here. That's where we're seeing that cutoff area of low pressure that's just going to hang out for several days. And it could result in quite a bit of storminess here across the southeast and the Gulf Coast as we head all the way through that third week of July. Watch out. Stormy times are ahead. But look at the lakes in the northeast, Midwest here. Lots of ridging that would suggest fair. And looking at the NAO index here, yeah, we're going to go from severely positive to very negative here. That means stormy blocking times are ahead mid to late July, middle of July in particular. And here's the MJO index. We are spiraling right around this level 2 and 3. Most of the models taking us continued to quieter times towards 4 and 5. We'll see some of them taking us to 1, but it seems like we're heading towards quieter times later in the month into early August. Let's take a look at your Canadian weather outlook. It's going to be very stormy in a few areas here. The west coast of Canada in particular, with those Western Pacific typhoons recurving, strengthening these synoptic systems, injecting them with tropical moisture. Also Southeast Canada. Stormy times are ahead. Look at this area of low pressure across Southeast Canada, New Brunswick area. Heavy rain Monday into Monday night, Tuesday throughout Newfoundland here. Another area of low pressure heading throughout southern Ontario here. That spreads moisture from the southwest. And look at these storms heading inland across parts of Western Canada. That gets some of these storms cranking. Thankfully, some good news with some rainfall up here in the wary wildfire areas. But look at this. All in all, you can see a big tropical moisture influx with these synoptic systems into the Gulf of Alaska. That's going to spread some unusually wet conditions throughout the west coast of Canada here. Also, another area of storminess, severe weather potentially, southern Manitoba and Ontario by July 11th. that area of low pressure winding up very readily here throughout Ontario, spreading that front eastward throughout Quebec. So we'll watch for rainy times ahead as well. Look at this, though. We could have severe weather in the Central Prairies, Saskatchewan, eastern Alberta, and Manitoba by the time July 14th rolls around. So watching for some very big storm systems across Canada, extremely active, it seems, throughout central Ontario here with another storm system. Also, a coastal low gets cranking the 16th right around Nova Scotia and Newfoundland here, Prince Edward Island. Watch out, gusty showers and thunder showers. July 17th, we do start to dry things out in the Rocky Mountains here, but look at eastern Canada. We're socked in with shower and thunder shower action here through eastern Quebec, and another storm system spreading some rain maybe into some of these wary wildfire areas. That's some good news. And liquid equivalent precipitation amounts here for Canada. Yeah, southeast Canada continue to get pummeled here, the west coast as well. This takes us, let's go a little bit further out here with our previous Euro model run. Let's look at this. So, yeah, little bit lesser amounts in northern Alberta with the wildfires. A little concerning there as we see a downtick towards 20 to 30 millimeters. Look at the west coast, though. We're just lining up. Tremendous tropical moisture here, in excess of 150 millimeters. So, yeah, you're getting some of this synoptic and northern Pacific, what's left over from some of these typhoons recurving here. And then look at southern Manitoba and Saskatchewan here, upwards of 100, 150 millimeters through southern Ontario and Quebec, all the way through southeast Canada here, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick here. We're looking close to 60 to 110 millimeters here. So stormy times are ahead. And temperature-wise here, we are shaping up to have another toasty week, especially toasty start here into the northeast Ohio Valley. Some areas approaching the low to mid 90s in some of these areas. Nice cooler air behind it, though. Look at those lower 80s and even some upper 70s. As we head on into Tuesday, July 8th, you can see that cooler air spills across parts of the interior northeast, right around 80 in many areas. 90s, mid to upper 90s through parts of interior South and North Carolina, Georgia area. Watch out. The heat is going to be on as it expands across the northern plains as well. Some areas in eastern Montana approaching 100. 80s throughout parts of the lakes, the northeast, continuing into Thursday. Some nice weather. So, yeah, if you have some time off, enjoy it. It looks nice. Look at the 90s just building across the deep south here. Into Friday, July 11th, you can see those 80s expanding all the way into the Ohio Valley and parts of the northeast, some upper 70s here. Heat baking out west. Look at this into Saturday, July 12th. Yeah, it looks really nice. 70s across the upper Midwest here, 80s across the Northeast, and plenty of 90s to the south. And look at it bake out west here. Extended outlook from hometown viewers, Binghamton, Scranton, Upper Susquehanna, River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. So we continue throughout the week here. Yeah, Monday and Tuesday. Well, Monday in particular is the hottest day. Low to mid 90s with heat index and well into the upper 90s near 100. Showers and thunderstorms can, likely in the afternoon and evening. Watch out. Some of these could be strong. Into Tuesday as well, we'll have a chance of showers and thunderstorms cooler into the 80s. And Wednesday, mid to high 80s. Into Thursday, we get another front moving through showers and thunderstorms. Watch. Some of these could be strong. And then we just set up for a rainy pattern as we head into Friday and into next weekend, unfortunately. Plenty more weather to come. Here is a look at my affiliate. Check out these awesome, amazing maps. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MediaMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MediaMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MediaMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeatyMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button, or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone, share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.